Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here, and it is 8:32 a.m. EST, and today might be pretty interesting. We have Trump speaking live over at Davos today, so a lot of tension going on in the markets. We've got we have the Greenland thing going on. We've got, like, gosh, you name it. There's just Iran. There's Venezuela. There's the way that the economy is changing. There is Canada and Europe threatening to rotate towards China. There's Canada wanting to import Chinese cars now, which would be, like causing money to get lost by the US. So all these things amount to possible market madness. So I'm going to do is first point out gold. Gold is just going ballistic right now. Just in the past day, it's gone from 4,700, kind of the low 47s, all the way up past to like 4,900. That's a big gain in gold very quickly and very strong, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. Now, the chart that you're looking at is the chart that I made for the weekly video that I do, and I did it yesterday on a Tuesday because Monday was not a trading day, so I went ahead and did the video on a Tuesday, and because basically there was no action on Monday. And boy, did I undershoot this. I mean, I thought that this top move was aggressive, but it looks like whatever happened yesterday really pushed gold up pretty hard. And that was around the 8 or 9 p.m. kind of time and through midnight. So was the European Open and prior to that. And I'm sure it had to do with, Davos and who knows what else. For those of you who don't know, Davos is it's a meeting in Switzerland by the World, what is it? The World Economic Forum, right? Get Klaus Schwab, and we've been talking about them for years. They were the they're the ones pushing all the "you will have nothing and be happy" type stuff. They're basically communist billionaires, right? Billionaires who were pushing the communist line, and they've lost power, it seems, in recent years. Who knows? They might try to get it back again. They're very patient people who have been working for probably hundreds of years, if not decades, to try to ruin society. So it's you have all kinds of billionaires there, not just those kind, but they are kind of running this particular meetup, and there are other such meetups for billionaires across the world. So you're going to have a lot of what you really have is sort of a place for billionaires to all meet up with each other outside of the main meeting and do deals. That's kind of a lot of what Davos is. So we can, take a look at some interesting stuff coming out of that. So for now, let's go ahead and move over from gold to silver. Silver has been absolutely crazy, but it's calming down a bit just for the moment, right? It looks like gold's taking the spotlight on that, but I mean, silver is just knocking on the door of 100, right? So it tried to pull back from 93 down to like 86 after Iran didn't happen, after we did not go into Iran. Silver pulled back and it went ahead and popped right back up. The Sunday open had a very big gap for the futures open, and silver has just been rising and holding ever since. So this is a pretty bullish pattern. Price just continues to grind upwards, and it'll continue to do so until it can't be held back anymore. So we'll probably see outside of any, major unpredicted events, we'll see gold probably pass 100 in the next any time between today and maybe March. I wouldn't be surprised to see it happen very, very, very soon. Let's go ahead and take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ continues down. Yesterday's prediction did indicate that this would happen. And a lot of this NASDAQ moving down has to do with Trump bickering with, or I should really say Europe and Canada bickering with Trump. Trump wants Greenland, and, he's making a lot of, very loud noises about that. And, they don't like that. They don't like being put in a position to have to fight for what they think is theirs, and that's fine. There's the whole New Monroe Doctrine. I'm sure Greenland is as much about resources as it is about anything else. And, we can talk all day about Greenland, but what we do see here is that the market is not liking what's going on overall. Now, of course, there's always that chance that deals get made while Trump is over in Davos. And he is supposedly speaking right now. And the market is really just probably waiting for him to say something. Like the market literally is not moving. Let me go over to the forex markets because that's where you're really going to see it. Definitely following my prediction, the euro. I didn't expect to see much until some kind of event happens, if you will. So it looks like the market is just waiting for Trump to speak. And we did hear that there was a delay, something to do with Air Force One, where Trump might be late talking today or something along those lines. So we do have to make room for such things. Let me adjust my camera here. There we are. So there is that everybody might be waiting for Trump to talk. In fact, I can take a look at some other charts in the meantime. Bitcoin really taken a hit, and it took a hit with the NASDAQ. It seems to have caught some support around 88,000, and that's probably going to make some sense. There was this older range. If I extend that out, and Bitcoin is going to have liquidity in this area, right? So it may hang out in the 88-ish area for a bit before it makes a decision in any given direction, right? So we don't know how it's going to go because you never know the future. But for the moment, just a brief look at the algos. I'm sure they haven't changed much since I made this the weekly video yesterday. But the look is rather bearish. Now we are in a situation where it could end up catching a little bit of a bid or at least some support, like I said, at that 88 or even the 83 level. So we could see that happen, but it remains to be seen, right? So I think a lot of the volatility is going to depend on the rest of the market at this point for Bitcoin. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is very late in the 4-year cycle, and there's a good chance that we see it go ahead and take a tumble, right? We'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the beasts. Okay. Yeah, just kind of sideways grinding, a little bit broader than the range that I talked about. We didn't look at the USD JPY. Similar look, right? So we have the Bank of Japan Thursday for them, probably Friday for the US. They're going to release their rate decision. They don't tell you exactly when they're going to do it, but when they do release that, we might expect some volatility. But until then, I don't expect the JPY pairs to do a whole lot unless the dollar does something big, or in this case, the British pound does something big. So just ranging sideways. Markets are kind of quiet with the exception of gold, right? So gold and silver, gold in a big way is an indicator of a few things. Most importantly right now, of instability. So if gold's rising, the world is kind of like thinking that big things are going to happen. They're going to go hide in precious metals. That's how that works. So you're going to see gold continue to get investment. I did see a really good article from, I think it was Visual Capital. Let me see if we can pull it up, and then we'll look at this article, and then I'll move over to the private live lab here. So I had to send a message there really quick. Apologies. Okay, so let's do. Okay, there it is. Okay, let me get this link up. Visual Capitalist, apologies. Copy link. And I will switch the screen so you can actually see it. Okay, so how billionaires plan to invest in 2026. Interesting, this all comes out at the same time as Davos. This was January the 20th. So it was posted yesterday. So I imagine that some intel was gathered at Davos. And actually the big winner, precious metals, definitely. First of all, let me explain how this chart works. The Orange is increasing exposure, meaning that they're going to buy more. Keep the same is where no change, right? And this maroon is decrease exposure. So basically, for this first line here, private equity is, like stocks. I'm sorry, forgive me, that's not true. Private equity is the private ownership of companies, right? So in this case, it looks like the billionaires want to, like half of them want to buy more, 31% want to keep the same, and 20% are going to decrease exposure. So if you look at, the way this works, this is for direct investments in private equity. The winner here for decrease of exposure is private equity funds, right? So 28% of billionaires are going to decrease their exposure to that. And 37% are going to increase exposure, 35 keep the same. So that's kind of the least attractive from the standpoint of who's decreasing exposure. As far as like the least amount of movement, commodities, everybody's going to kind of just continue what they're doing with commodities, 10% increase exposure and 8% decrease. But the biggest disparity that I can see here in increase versus decrease is emerging market equities, right? So emerging market equities are like smaller countries who are just starting to grow, just starting to become, more feasible, if you will, or uh, I think China might still be considered emerging market. I don't know if they fit in that category anymore, but these are equities that are coming up, like companies that are going public in smaller countries, right? Or just smaller markets. And only 2% of billionaires are decreasing exposure, and 42% are increasing, which is one of the top four of the increase. So that's one of the big places people are looking. And then also gold and precious metals, you're having a very small decrease in exposure. Very few people decreasing. Only 3% of the billionaires are decreasing exposure to precious metals, 64% remaining the same, with 32% increasing exposure, which is pretty significant. That's 32% to 3%. That's over a 10 to 1 increase versus decrease, where you have with even with the emerging market equities, that's 20 to 1. That's an even bigger increase to decrease ratio there at 2% versus 42%, right? So if you have access to emerging market equities, I'm sure it's pretty risky, but for the billionaires to be increasing their exposure at 42% and very, very few people decreasing. Now, the other winner here is going to be infrastructure. So that's going to be like power companies and stuff like that. And that's one that I've been talking about personally. I think infrastructure has a massive future. Now, there's always going to be, your private equity angle on that. There's always going to be your hedge fund angle on that. There's always going to be your equities angle on that. So I don't know quite exactly how infrastructure is investable outside of those domains, but apparently that's the way to go. I think infrastructure power companies, that's in the future just going to continue to be solid as AI grows and stuff like that. So that's going to be it, though, for the public live lab. I did want to share this. This came from Velas over at Rogue ESW. There's a really, really good look here, because if you want to make money, you do what the smart money is doing. Now, the smart money is always going to have a certain part of their book where they are playing the market, where they have people who are, doing some trades. That's why they invest in hedge funds, right? Well, you have the capability to trade like a hedge fund pro. You do have that, and that's through Algo Factory. There's a link in the description. I actually build an algo, a trading algo, in that video. I show you how to turn it into code. I show you how the professionals connect their algos to the broker, right? So it can trade, the computer can trade while they're not even sitting at the computer. Now, this is something where you have to take this algo, optimize it for your trading. But once you've optimized it, you have the capability to do that. Or you could just build your own algo and not use mine, but we show you how to do it there. And if you want to learn how it's really done, come over to algofactory.tech. The link in the description will lead you down that path. Thank you all for watching. We're going to be back tomorrow. Okay, so we're going to be back tomorrow for the live show again, where we'll probably review whatever Trump said. I don't know if he's talking yet. I guess before I move over, I'll just take a brief look at this here. Is Trump talking at Davos yet? Like I said, I did hear there was a mechanical delay. Let's see, 8:38. Yeah, it was supposed to start. Trump is expected to focus on America First agenda. Where can I watch it? I'm just going to see if he's on the stage yet, because the markets are super quiet. And that means that probably he hasn't started, or if he did, he's not saying anything that important. Okay, World Economic Forum is live. Talking. Okay, so he's talking, and he's been talking, for a time. But nothing yet, nothing yet said that's moving the markets. So it might be that he's not saying anything surprising. So we'll have to just kind of see what happens. He's slated to talk for 45 minutes. This could be another 30 minutes. There's going to be follow-up questions in a chat with Klaus Schwab, Clown Schwab. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll come back mañana, 8:30 a.m. EST. We'll catch you later.
Join us or die.
Just kidding. You're not going to die. We love you.